YouTube? Welcome back to UniXDBS, and today we are talking about the best of one pre-side rules that are going into the DBS Fest and how to best work with them. Just some strategies I feel would be pertinent to being better at the format. So yeah, last week we got a fair amount of rule changes to this fest before the fest didn't even come out, of course, only a week after the initial ones were announced. And I had my own thoughts about that. They were in the previous video, just about, you know, like how the community can sometimes wild out a little bit and Bandai can respond, you know, in certain ways. That video has been up for a little bit, actually only a couple days. You should go look at it, point being. But before we jump into everything, we've got the normal plugs. First and foremost, this time I want to talk about the podcast. I do it with George from Espire TCG every week. It comes out on Tuesdays. The link for that will be in the description. But check that out. Great way to start off your week if you're just chilling, you know, you just want to have a headphone in or something, you just want to listen to the podcast, or if you got some long commute, you know, you can have half of it for your commute there, half of it for your commute back, things like that. But the link for that podcast will be in the description, so you should listen to it. We're a pretty good combination. Next, just wanted to talk about the official Facebook group. This is where we get the official information that I'm kind of going off of for this video, as well as the discussion group where we talk and we're complaining about it. And but no, for real, it's a really good forum of information, and we're all there, and you get plugged into everybody's content creation, match results or tournament results, things like that. Very good place. Then you got the UniXDBS Facebook group, as well as the UniXDBS Discord. You got my homie and partial sponsor TCGMetalZ, where you can get the sickest metal cards. You can also use the code UniX at checkout to get 10% off your order. I'm still giving away this. There's a video I did a little bit ago that you could just comment Xeno #Harambe. Just look in the playlist. You'll see mini giveaway for 1,500 subscribers, and you can win this beautiful 2-of-a-kind Dark Broly Metal Leader card. So there's that. And then, lastly, I just wanted to say that on the side, I am doing Dragon Ball video gaming in another channel. So if you want to show me some love, maybe just look at the videos, drop a like, let the videos play in the background so that they start trending for the people that do want to subscribe. You can just go over there. Link will be in the description. Link is on my page. It's the UniXDB. So yeah, got some really cool stuff going on there because of Dokken's 7th anniversary. Now that that's all over with, let's get into the meat and potatoes as per usual. So what we've learned going into this format is now that the until Top Cut, presumably, the Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fests will be best of one. And while they are best of one, we will be able to side before the match starts or the game starts. What this equates to is when you see your opponent's leader you have to put your leader, you know, on the table before, you know, the round starts. You will have 1 minute to side for that leader, and then you have a 30-minute plus 5-minute overtime turns in the game before going into, you know, the end of the match. Now, thing about this is, first and foremost, I'm gonna say 30 minutes is not, in my opinion, long enough to have a full game. If both your decks are mid-range, that could be a while. Now, granted, I think 20 to 25 minutes should be around what it is, but a lot of people don't play as fast as they need to. I would highly suggest for any future events from here on out, as well as these best of ones, start testing with a timer. If you guys notice, all of my fight nights that I put up, and I say all like there's more than 4, but all of my fight nights include they actually include a timer on them. And the reason why they include a timer on them is because I want people to see a fairly realistic gauge of how long it takes for people to play. We've already had a game end due to time, not due to actual games, you know, ending. And that's a realistic thing. You never want to be in a position where you feel like you could have pulled it out, but then you ran out of the clock. It feels bad, and you feel like you didn't get to lose, you lost to the clock. So you always want to kind of be more efficient in that. So I would definitely suggest that if you're practicing for good, once you start getting into, you know, the more serious bits of your testing, start timing yourself. It's okay, I understand, when you're just trying to understand how your cards interact, you know, break some new ground. But once you have your deck list shored up and you're practicing your actual matchups, you need to do it timed. Just make sure you were good on making plays for the format that you're in. Now, When it comes to deciding, a lot of people have already been talking about 1 minute being not enough time to side. I disagree. Something that I've been doing since my Yu-Gi-Oh days, since my Magic days, I still do it for this game. Once I know what my deck is going to be for the most part, and I put my side deck together, when I'm practicing for sides, I'm already pretty fluid on what I'm going to side. Why? Because I'm a big solitaire. Lots of decks, if it's a responsive deck or the deck is very reactive, you can't really solitaire that well. But one thing I do like to do when I'm just chilling, I have idle time, I'll roll a die. I'll see whether I'm going first or second. I will mulligan to see what my opening hand is. I might play out the first 3 turns in my head. Sometimes I try to make it so what is their best case scenario? Like, did they establish slug as soon as possible? Did they just pop off as soon as possible? Could I survive a full Gogeta Zeno just burst for the first 2 to 3 turns? Sometimes I just see what my hands are, things like that. But what I always do afterwards is, depending on whether I went first or second, I go into that next game knowing that I'm going first. If my hand was just busted, I'm like, okay, maybe I won this one. If my hand was awful, maybe I lost this one. But sometimes I'll just pretty much coin flip it. I will decide whether I'm going, if I'm going first or second, and then I'll have the matchup. I'll be like, okay, this is Cell Surge. Am I going first or second? Flip a coin. I'm going first. This is what I need to decide in. With Gohan from Cross Spirits, I was like, okay, I'm going first. So, I need to be on the offense. I'm going to be siding in these Kabas. I'm going to be siding in this. I'm going to be siding in this. And just to make sure, that I'm able to see what I'm siding in and get comfortable with it. Okay, I'm going second versus this deck. Chances are I will not establish, going against Icarus. If I'm going second, I'm not necessarily going to put in Vegito, Unison of Might, because it's just I think that's its name, because they're going to hit 4 before I am and get that momentum going. But if I was going first, it's something that I would side in, because they can't really, if you clear their board and you -2 on that Vegito Unison, they can't really establish a board again after that. So that's kind of what I end up doing. But I do that in private so that when I get to the match, I know exactly what I'm doing, unless they have some really off the walls tech. I am able to put my 15 cards into my deck, shuffle them, take out the 15 cards I don't want, and it is clean. And if you currently don't do that, and your memory isn't good enough to constantly be able to assess what you need to side in, you're going to waste valuable time. And you don't want to be called out for slow playing because you're genuinely trying to decide what cards to side at that very moment. For the most part, outside of, like I said, outlandish text, you should know what you're siding in and out for which matchups, You should know which decks you need to go lower to the ground for. You should know which decks you need to side in more protection for. You should know which decks you need to side in those awkward cards like anti-hand control or things like that. And you shouldn't be waiting until you get to the table to understand what you need to side in. You shouldn't be waiting to lose a game or barely scrape a game out to know what you need to side in. These are all things that you should actually know. Granted, not having the ban list makes it a little harder right now because we don't know which decks are going to be currently top dogs in formats. We don't know which decks are going to be rampant. We don't know what decks are going to get nerfed, which decks are going to get hurt. So once we get that ban list, it is on. It is up to you to look at the format, know your options, know which 15 cards will best help your deck get through the tournament, and then start practicing. I would highly suggest using the method. I'm not going to call it the UniX method because I know plenty of people do it, but I would highly suggest using that method. Literally just sit down and go, I'm facing blue, yellow, Soul Striker. I am going first, post sides. What do I put in? What do I take out? Because it's not just what you put in, it is what you take out. I'm going against this deck. What do I take in? What do I take out? Going second siding. This is important. Like I said, every deck should have your slots. If your deck is so tight it can't side, chances are there's going to be, it needs to be tier 0, or you might need to find a better deck that has better options to side. But there's always, things to do. Like in Cell Surge, I'll use this for instance because it's kind of the easiest one. You don't really get attacked by them until they're ready to attack you, until your hand is 0, and they won't try to awaken you. So for that deck, 100%, like with my Universe 7 Gohan deck, I take out things like my negates, like I take out my Violent Rays, I took out my my Vegeta, King of Vegeta's Imposing Presences, I took out my Fu because the game isn't going to get that long without him bodying me first. But I side in the max amount of kappas. I side in my maximum amount of Crown of Retributions to stop the topo from happening. I side in, like, you know, just more cards to be extremely offensive. And that way, you know, you have less dead draws and all your draws can be gas. That's just the things you need to do. And, you know, again, I'm going to stress one more time, it's not enough to know what you're siding in. You need to know what you're siding out, because those are the two halves to the equation. Those are the two halves to making this a good and timely just function. So once that's done, I have no doubt that you will be able to side in and out in a minute as long as you are polished. Don't let these things get you caught unaware at an event. Some of your battle is fought before you even sit at the table, in terms of deck building, in terms of being comfortable with your knowledge of the matchups, and being comfortable with the knowledge of your own deck as well. So yeah, if you like the content, let me know. Think about subscribing. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, I'm just gonna go for it. Like the video, comment, let me know what you feel about the directions video. I want to put out a lot more competitive content. And yeah, we actually finally had one of those short videos. So thank you guys for jumping in. I'll see you next time you decide to join UniXDBS. Later.